Snorks can't be called full mutants. Most likely, these are people with damaged psyches who adopted a wild, animal way of life. They began to growl, move on all fours, and bare their teeth almost constantly. Their movements and habits surpass those of four-legged predators. They're resistant to radiation and psychic emissions. Snorks are insane creatures living an animal lifestyle, essentially little different from the zone's predatory monsters. They move on four limbs, either jumping or pressing very close to the ground, sniffing it, trying to catch the scent of prey. Due to the destruction of cartilage material, the creature walks somewhat hunched over, as the spine can't bear constant loads. They can move on both 2 and 4 limbs. Apparently, these mutants were once human. Some specimens still have remnants of army clothing or individual pieces of equipment, suggesting they were previously missing military personnel. A gas mask, PDA 3M in gray or black, is clearly visible on the face. The lower part of the mask is torn, revealing completely absent lips and brown-colored gums. They feed on carrion. Sergei woke up from a nudge to his shoulder. The gas mask, fused with his face, had fogged up from heavy breathing. Sleep dissolved slowly, clinging to consciousness with fragments of a white dress, Lena's laughter, the taste of strawberry wedding cake. "Gray, get up," Mishka wheezed, shoving a dead rat right in his face. "Breakfast." Sergei recoiled, nearly hitting his head on a rusty pipe. The basement of the old dormitory had long been their home, but every morning he woke up hoping the nightmare was over. "Mish, I can't," he pushed away the offered rat. "I dreamed about cake." "Real cake, you understand?" Mishka squatted down beside him, his breathing through the cracked gas mask filters sounding like an old accordion. "It's been 4 years since everything exploded. 4 years since we became like this. Cakes aren't in our future anymore. I can't accept it." Sergei clenched his fists. His muscles, deformed by radiation, tensed under gray, peeling skin. He still remembered his reflection in the mirror, young, fit, with clear eyes. And now, well, I definitely like our situation. Mishka bit off a piece of rat and began chewing appetizingly. "Plenty of grub. Don't have to buy it. Don't have to work. Don't have to serve. It's not life, it's paradise. If only I could tear off this gas mask, but the damn thing's welded on tight. This mutation somehow selectively ran through us. Everyone's brains, I figured, leaked out. Only ours remained. Look at Sergeant Maminkin, what a beast he was. But his brains got knocked out, he just moves now. Doesn't recognize anyone. Should we go give him a beating?" "Huh? Sergei, let's go mess with him." "Leave me alone." "I don't want to." "Fine, give me your rat. I'm getting hungry." "Oh. Sorry, buddy, I ate your share." "You refused it." Okay, just kidding." "Here," and Mishka efficiently pulled a rat's tail from his mouth with unchewed mass dangling from it. Sergei immediately popped the delicacy into his mouth and closed his eyes with pleasure. The hunger receded, but memories of the past wouldn't leave him alone. His wife was pregnant when he was called to guard the station. The last letter came a week before the explosion. She wrote that her belly was already showing, that she was waiting for his return. If only I could take one look. She probably already has a child, maybe even a new husband. What's the problem? Mishka tossed aside the gnawed bones. How far is it to Kiev? 130 kilometers. That's all. 2 hours drive. We could make a run for it. How? Asked Sergei. In that van over there. I've been watching it for a long time. Every morning it heads to the city. At the checkpoint they barely inspect it properly. We could what? Sergei jumped up, his deformed legs scraping against the concrete. Crawl out of the back in the middle of Kiev? Scare children to death? As you wish. Sergei closed his eyes. In the darkness of the gas mask, he could see Lena's face, laughing, happy, not knowing that her husband had turned into a monster. When? He asked. Tomorrow. At 9 in the morning, Petrovich loads sacks of food. We'll hide under the tarp. They sat in silence until dawn, each thinking their own thoughts. Sergei imagined how he'd slip past the checkpoint, curl up in a corner of the truck bed between sacks of flour and canned goods. How for the first time in 4 years he'd find himself outside the zone. And what he would see there. His thoughts grew darker with each hour. Morning came gray and foggy. They crawled out of the basement and crept toward the warehouse, moving in short dashes between the ruins. Sergei felt his heart pounding in his chest. He hadn't felt such excitement even before his wedding. The van stood by the warehouse gates, Petrovich smoking nearby, nervously glancing at his watch. Sergei and Misha crouched behind a pile of broken bricks, waiting for the moment. Now, whispered Mishka. They rushed to the truck, their mutated bodies moving with inhuman agility. Sergei dove under the tarp first, Mishka followed. They huddled in the farthest corner, between sacks of grain. Petrovich slammed the tailgate. The engine started. The van moved, and Sergei's heart sank. Ahead loomed the checkpoint, beyond it freedom. Beyond it the chance to at least glimpse his former life from afar. The truck slowed down. The guard's voice. Petrovich, bring some crossword puzzles next time. All right. Going to search it? Nah. Go ahead, drive through. The barrier lifted. The van shot forward. The zone was left behind. Ahead lay the world he had left as a human, and to which he was returning as a monster. The van unexpectedly turned off the main road and rolled along the broken asphalt of a roadside village. Sergei and Mishka exchanged glances in the darkness under the tarp. Where's he going? Whispered Mishka. The truck stopped. Voices could be heard, female laughter, kissing sounds. Petrovich was mumbling something about missed you and the whole night is yours. Bastard, Sergei exhaled. He's got a woman here. They carefully climbed out of the truck bed. The village was almost dead, half the houses abandoned. In the windows of others flickered the dim light of kerosene lamps. Petrovich had disappeared into a house with carved window frames, from which muffled voices could be heard. What do we do? Mishka nervously scraped his claws against the asphalt. We'll have to wait. Possibly until morning. They climbed into a half-ruined house at the edge of the village. The roof leaked, but it provided shelter from the rain. Hunger twisted his stomach with iron rings. Sergei watched as Mishka dug in the wet earth by the porch, digging up earthworms and greedily devouring them. Sergei, try some, he offered a handful of writhing creatures. Better than rats. Sergei took one worm, stuck it under his gas mask. The slippery, cold body burst on his teeth, releasing bitter juice. But the hunger receded at least for a while. I'll go scout around. This is annoying. We're losing a whole day. Mishka disappeared into the blackberry thickets. Sergei settled on an old, creaky couch. Sleep wouldn't come. Thoughts of meeting his family were replaced by thoughts of injustice. How did this happen? Well, the wave hit us. The whole company. Well, we went through the process of mutation, transformation into what we really are now. Well, we didn't do it ourselves, the commanders sent us. We needed to be saved, treated, studied. But we were, it turns out, betrayed. Written off. They started shooting us down. Exterminating us. Suddenly the blackberry thickets rustled sharply. Mishka returned agitated. Get up, but don't make noise. Look. Opposite their ruins stood an old Ziggly station wagon, beaten up, but running. White, with rust spots on the sides. Transportation, whispered Sergei. Food, Mishka licked his lips, looking at the house that smelled of fried bacon and fresh bread. They hid in the bushes and waited. Half an hour later, two people came out of the house, a man about 40 in a padded jacket and a young woman in a colorful headscarf. Ordinary people, probably locals. The woman was scolding the man about something. He frowned but remained silent. How long can we hide in this shack? It stinks of mold and mice. There's no electricity. And the bed creaks. Can't you really rent a hotel room? With a shower and TV? Yeah, find yourself a rich guy and rent hotels. The man cut her off. She wants a TV. You'll watch TV at home with your husband. Ready? Whispered Mishka, the muscles of his deformed legs tensing for a jump. Let's wait until they get in. Sergei felt his pulse quickening. The couple approached the car. The man opened the driver's door. The woman sat next to him. The engine started. Now, growled Mishka. Suddenly, right from the sky, something landed on the hood, a humanoid monster with a gas mask on its head. The landing was loud. The car shook violently. The man behind the wheel saw the gas mask fuse to the face, murky eyes behind cracked glass, gray skin, a snarl. His face went white, his mouth opened in a soundless scream as if the air itself refused to be his voice. His heart couldn't take it. The woman screamed. Not a human howl. Without words or meaning. Only fear. Only despair. The door on her side opened, and clawed hands reached for her. One jerk and everything went quiet. Half an hour later they were driving on the road to Kiev. Mishka at the wheel, Sergei beside him. On the back seat lay bones and scraps of colorful headscarf. She was sweet, Mishka said contentedly. Soft. Like warm milk. Strange, but she smelled like cream. Sergei didn't answer. He looked in the mirror. Something was stuck in his teeth. Somewhere deep in his soul, human conscience still beat, but hunger was stronger. And most importantly, Kiev lay ahead. Lena was waiting. An hour later they were stopped by a traffic police post. A lieutenant in a faded uniform waved his baton, pointing to the shoulder. Documents, he said, approaching the window. Then he saw the gas masks, scraps of military uniform on their bodies. Ah, I see. Are you having some kind of exercises? Exercises, Mishka agreed hoarsely. What a uniform you have, comrade soldiers. The lieutenant leaned closer to the window. Completely worn out. And why the gas masks? He didn't finish speaking. Sergey grabbed him by the neck and pulled him into the car, tearing out his artery with his teeth. The second Snork had already jumped out and leaped at the second traffic cop, who didn't even have time to understand anything. A few minutes later, they continued their journey. Now both wore police caps, and Sergey had put the dead lieutenant's dark glasses on his gas mask. Now we look just like people, Mishka laughed. Sergey purred contentedly. With each murder, with each piece of human flesh, it became easier. Humanity was leaving like water through fingers. He didn't want to eat sweaty, smoke-stained cops after the appetizing young lady. They put the corpses along with ammunition and weapons in the Ziguli's trunk. Less than an hour remained to the capital. Kiev greeted them with light autumn rain. Sergey recognized familiar streets, but the city had changed, become gloomier somehow. Or maybe he himself had changed so much that he could no longer see beauty. That building there, he pointed to a 9-story building with peeling paint. Third entrance, 5th floor. Mishka parked the car across the street. Sergey looked at the windows, trying to guess which one belonged to his former apartment. His heart was pounding so hard it seemed ready to burst from his chest. "Let's wait for darkness," he suggested. Too many people during the day. They had been sitting in the car for an hour when Mishka noticed an approaching group. "Sergey, look. Looks like we've been spotted." 5 young guys in tracksuits and leather jackets were slowly approaching their car. Hard faces, confident gait. Local authorities, you could tell right away. "Maybe we should split? Before it's too late?" "Oh wow, familiar faces. I know them. Local thugs. They used to hassle me before the army. They've terrorized this whole neighborhood. They came at just the right time. I just felt like stretching my legs, and I can settle an old score. Well, they're still alive. Well, we'll fix that now. Mish, 2 are yours. Hide your cap. If they see we're cops, they'll scatter. They're afraid of cops." The police caps flew to the floor between the seats. "And who do we have showing up in our neighborhood?" one of them said loud enough to be heard. "Don't get it. What kind of masquerade is this?" The gang leader, a big-faced guy with a gold chain around his neck, approached the driver's door and knocked on the glass with his knuckles. But the passenger door opened first. Something that looked like a human rolled out. In tattered army uniform and with a gas mask on its head. "Boys, need some guns? Come on, I'll show you." With these words, the hunched Snork led 2 of the bandits to the station wagon's rear door. They reluctantly shuffled after the hunched wonder in a gas mask. "What kind of guns?" "Really cool guns, I guarantee," the Snork nasaled through the filter. "PM's 2 pieces, there's also police uniforms, 2 pieces, ammunition, radio, and various junk. Oh, there are even police caps." At that moment, the driver's door opened, and another identical Snork tumbled out. He gracefully somersaulted, like in breakdancing, and froze in a Snork's combat pose, barely audibly emitting a guttural growl. Ugh, damn, the 3 who had approached from the driver's side recoiled from him. What kind of circus is this? At that moment, the first Snork raised the station wagon's rear door and pulled off a blanket already thoroughly soaked with blood. The bandits saw 2 torn-apart policemen. This caused one to vomit profusely. The second, seeing the mangled body and turned out internal organs, simply collapsed in a faint. The loud sounds of vomiting served as a signal for action for the second Snork. He jumped sharply. The leader immediately grabbed his throat. Touched the asphalt again, another jump, another throat. Screams. Crunch of bones. Splashes of blood on the asphalt. Damn it, the third decided not to wait for his turn and tried to run. The Snork caught him in 3 jumps. Claws ripped open his back, teeth found his neck. Need help? Sergey shouted. Nah, I already handled it. Just got my appetite up. Imagine, they overindulged in beer and salmon before meeting us. The fat one who puked has his whole stomach stuffed with that fish. Today's really some kind of gastronomic holiday. First meat with cream, now salmon and beer. You go ahead, get home, someone's probably already called the police. Mommy, a woman from the 2nd floor shrieked, looking out the window. They're killing people. Call the police, someone shouted from above. Quickly! Oh. I told you so, said Mishka, spitting blood. We really should get out of here now. No, Sergey looked at the entrance. I have to see her. At least once. In 3 jumps the Snork reached the entrance door. At that moment sirens wailed in the street, first one, then 3 more. Real police were responding to the call. Sergey! Mishka shouted. But Sergey could no longer hear. Demonstrating excellent Snork jumping ability, he reached the 5th floor in a minute. The familiar door with peeling paint. Number 47. He pressed his ear to the door. Someone was talking inside, a woman's voice, a child's laughter. Sergey's heart stopped. Lena. Alive. And she has a child. My child. The sirens stopped in the street. Car doors slammed, commands could be heard. There was no shooting, so Mishka had either hidden or was already far away. One jumped into our entrance, a scary one with a trunk, bald and without ears. Such horror, came the voice of a neighbor, Klavdia Ivanovna. Still alive, how nice to hear her. Hurried footsteps could be heard on the lower floors. Sergey hesitated for a second, then pressed the doorbell. Who's there? Lena was approaching the door. Lena? Lena, it's me. Seryoza? Seryoza. You're alive. She couldn't fail to recognize her husband's voice. The door lock clicked hurriedly. The door swung open. The girl saw the gas mask fused to his face, gray peeling skin, claws instead of nails, screamed and fainted. Boots were already thundering up the stairs from below. Commands could be heard. 2nd floor checked. Moving up to the 3rd. Careful, the creatures are armed. Sergey began slapping her cheeks. She came to, let out a wild, inhuman scream and lost consciousness again. A frightened child was crying in the depths of the apartment. Sergey rushed toward the crying. In the crib lay a sleepy baby. His mother's scream had woken him. But seeing the dirty, blood-covered elephant, the baby suddenly calmed down. The elephant leaned over the baby and said in a human voice, "Hello, son." The child smiled and tried to reach for the elephant's trunk. The elephant leaned down, and the child grabbed the trunk. "What's your name?" "Sayosa," the baby suddenly said and made several happy incoherent sounds. Tears spurted and began to fill the tiny space between the elephant's eyes and the gas mask lenses. "Sayosa, my name is Sayosa too. And do you know who I am?" "I'm your daddy." "Dada," the son repeated. "Dada. Dada." The father sobbed. Tears completely flooded the gas mask windows. Sergei straightened up and howled. At that moment, policemen appeared in the apartment and aimed their automatic weapons at the Snork. "We have orders to open fire to kill. Let's not do it in the apartment, guys. There's a child here." "And a woman," said Sergei, raising his hands up, showing that he was surrendering. The policemen were confused that the mutant could talk, and they retreated to the landing, giving the Snork a chance to come out. Suddenly a shadow flew from behind with a roar. Both policemen, dropping their weapons, grabbed their throats and sank to the floor. "Leave you for a second and you're already ready to surrender. Mishka, how glad I am to see you. Imagine, I have a son. A son. Congratulations. What did they name him?" "Let me guess, Serioza. Did I guess right? And who's that lying in the hallway?" "Lena. My wife. Beautiful. And probably tasty. For someone like that, it would be worth getting into all kinds of trouble. I don't want to upset you, Gray, but that nasty old lady from the second floor has probably already called for backup. We really need to get out of here. Too bad it didn't work out to talk with Lena. Is she impressionable? Write her a note." "A note? What should I write?" Mishka took a notepad and pen lying by the phone in the hallway. Tore out a sheet. "Write mutation. Failed experiment. Destroy this note. Thanks for the son. Love you. And signature. Your..." Boots thundered up the stairs from below again. "Well, there you go. We'll have to leave through the attic. Did you write it? Hide the note. Where do ladies hide love notes? Hide it right there." Mishka rushed out of the apartment, picked up an automatic rifle, made a threatening Snork roar and fired a burst at the walls of the stairwell. The tramping of boots stopped. Commands could be heard: "Spread out, prepare for battle." Gray rushed out. "Miss Hanya, what are you doing? Don't overdo it. Are you done? Close the door, climb to the attic. Now they'll throw flashbang grenades. And I don't know how they'll affect me and don't want to find out." Mishka fired another burst, roared for effect and rushed after Sergei to the attic. A minute later, the Snorks jumped onto the roof of the neighboring house, then to the next roof and the next. And while the special forces were bombarding the attic with flashbang grenades, they were already very far away. A few blocks away, they decided to stop and rest. They hid in a boiler room. "Had a good time," Mishka laughed. "I don't want to upset you, but the only place where we can wait until everything dies down is our beloved exclusion zone." "I understand. I don't want to either. But staying here is extremely dangerous. Now they'll set all the cops, bandits, bums against us. Even rats and worms. Let's think about how we'll get back. And when we return, we'll crack worms and think about how to come back here again."